Good morning, beautiful people. Ever since the last video, I received a whole set of questions, and this video is going to be on how to um, become a FBI agent. And so, some of you commented on how you want to find out about that, and then I received a few emails about some of you who were on the edge of wanting to do it. So here it is. But before we get started, I wanted to spend a few minutes as your professor telling you a story about being hungry. And I'm not talking just about food, but this story does have a little bit about that. So I graduated high school. I went through a time, like a lot of you did, that was confusing, that you didn't have all the answers. You were trying to figure out what to do, where to go, what career to choose, and you felt confused, and you were trying to, gosh, I wish there was a manual when you graduate high school. I think some of you remember this, as I'm telling you. When I graduated high school, all my friends went away, either to the military or to the university or colleges they were going to, and I kind of stayed behind, and it took me a while to catch up. I was working for a police department as a dispatcher, and that's not the dream career that I wanted to do. And I've mentioned maybe some of my videos before. I fell asleep. I was fired, let go on probation, and I had to pick up the pieces. And I was trying to find my way through life, as some of you are doing right now as you're watching this video. It's like, where do I go from here? What do I do? And so I don't mind sharing the fact that I was fired because I fell asleep. It wasn't that I did anything illegal, but it was pretty incompetent of me to do that. I was hanging out too late, not getting enough sleep, and that's why that happened. And so I shared these stories with you only so that you understand that there are obstacles to overcome. There are issues to resolve. Things don't materialize in the blink of an eye, and they don't happen instantly. There's things that you have to do before you get there. And so my story about being hungry leads me to tell you a quick story. So I borrowed some money from my grandparents. I put myself through the police academy. It was a Monday through Friday. It was we lived on site. We had dorms, barracks, old army barracks, and the majority of the people that were going through the academy were being sponsored by agencies. That means they were getting paid to go through the academy, and they had a job waiting for them at the end of the academy. And so for me, your professor here, I didn't have that. I borrowed money, put myself through it as an independent. So I was constantly broke. I didn't have any extra money to do things that I wanted to do. So I remember in the academy, which was 6 months long, I remember on a Friday, and so we had regular meals there, basically breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But on Fridays, we only had, it ended at lunch, and so no dinner. And then during the weekends, I stayed on there. I stayed at the dorms, and there was no meals. There were no meals. And so on a Friday, we got out of class. We just got done taking a large exam, and everybody wants to celebrate. They want to go out and have a drink. And so I wanted to go out with them, not so much to have a drink, but just to kind of socialize. And I went into my dorm room, and I took off my uniform, put on my street clothes, and I started digging around, and I had $1.75 to my name. Now, this is probably towards the end of the academy. This is probably in the 5th month of the academy, and I only had $1.75. $1.75. I want you to think about what I'm about to tell you. And it was Friday, and I had no money for gas, couldn't go to my parents. I pretty much had to stay there at the academy. And so the friends knocked on my door and said, "Hey, you ready to go?" They all had cars. I had my old mom's car parked in the parking lot. I said, "No, let me check in a few things." And so I ran out to the car. I put the key in it. I turned it, hoping that it had more gas than what I left it. And it only had, the needle was on empty. And so I'm not telling you these stories to make you feel sorry for me. I'm telling you these stories to tell you how I overcame obstacles. So I go out to the car, the gas is on empty. I dig in my pocket, I got $1.75, it's Friday, and I'm already thinking it's gonna be a long weekend. And so all my friends left. I said, you know what, never mind, I'd rather stay behind and study. I didn't want to tell him that I was broke or that this wasn't going to work. And so after they all left, I walked down to the Circle K store, and I basically started trying to figure out how I was going to survive in the next couple days. And so what I did was I walked around the store trying to figure out what I was going to be able to eat for that. I'm moving across the street here because some people are walking. I just don't want to get in their way. Anyway, I walked around the store and I found these powdered donuts in a little package, and a little pack of small little apple juices, like the ones you get at school in elementary school. And so I bought that, and I walked back to the academy barracks. And as I sat down, very silent, there was no one around, and I thought, man, I'm gonna have to make this stretch. I'm gonna have to make this work. And so that is all that I ate for dinner on that Friday, for the entire Saturday and the entire Sunday. I want you to think about this for a second, okay? I didn't call my family. I didn't call my friends. I didn't say, hey, what can I do to survive this? I just did it. I survived that hunger episode in my life. And so Monday morning come around, I was starving, I was hungry, and I ran to the cafeteria to get my first meal, breakfast. And food never tasted so good. So the main point, before I start telling you about the FBI, the main point of the story, I just want to kind of tell you, is that I want to ask you as your professor, how hungry are you? How hungry are you for success? How bad do you want something? Not just like you're going to try it, and if you don't get it the first time, you're going to give up. I want you to be hungry for what you want to accomplish. It's the only way you're going to make this thing happen. It's not going to come easy. It's not going to be handed to you. It's just going to happen. So anyway, about the FBI. First of all, you have to be 23 years old to apply, and most FBI agents will want to meet with you. The recruiter will want to meet with you to find out if you're ready, if you're what's called marketable, if you're a person that the FBI would want to hire as a special agent. So I was working in law enforcement when I applied with the FBI, and I was coming in as a bilingual. I spoke Spanish, and I was coming in with a 4-year degree, and the FBI on their website has a list of the degrees that you're going to need. I keep bumping this, sorry. That you're going to need to have one of those degrees in order to get hired. And then I went and met with them, and they said, yeah, you're marketable. I had law enforcement experience. It fell into one of the, I think, 7 categories they're looking for. They're looking for accountants, they're looking for lawyers, they're looking for people with law enforcement experience, they're looking for people right off the street with a 2-year degree or 4-year degree. The main thing is you have to be 23 and have a 4-year degree within the list of categories that are listed on the FBI website. So that's the very, very, very first step. So anyway, the next step is they have you fill out a booklet that you have to agree that you can't disclose during the hiring process. You can't disclose any of the information that you're going to find out about the hiring process, or you will be disqualified. So you have to initial and sign and date that little booklet. And then you are scheduled to go take an ASVAB type of exam. If you've ever applied for the military, they give you this ASVAB exam. It was very similar to that. I took one before for the military, so I was a little bit familiar with it. It had some English comprehension, it had some math, it had some spelling, questions on there. I mean, it had just a whole list of things that were required. And I hear a garbage truck coming, so I'm sorry. It's garbage day in this neighborhood. And so I took the test and I passed it. And so I got on the list to go take the language exam. They put me on the phone with this lady from I think Spain or Cuba. And here's another obstacle. I didn't score high enough on the Spanish exam, and so my goals were shattered, and I did not go to the next stage of the hiring process. Instead, I received a letter, and basically the letter said, hold on, I'm going to move away from the garbage truck. I know some of you guys are wondering what's this all about, but I'll wait till he leaves so I can continue the story. I don't have an expensive studio to edit these videos. It's just, and that's how life is. Those of you that live in a home or apartment, you know about garbage day. So anyway, so I received a letter from them saying, hey, you didn't pass the language exam. We're going to put you on an inactive list, and now we're going to try to bring you in with a 4-year degree and law enforcement experience. And so the next step of the hiring process was to go and take a written exam. So they flew me to a large city. They paid all the expenses, and when I got there, the morning time was basically taking this 5-hour exam. And what it was they give you a stack of documents of this case, and they want you to, I'm going to move the microphone a little bit here. They want you to read the whole case and then summarize it as to what is it all about, what's the case all about. And so in my case, I think it was a person who ran for political office and had done some pretty shady things, and they wanted to know what was the case about. So I summarized it, that this person had won appointment to an elected office, and then that he was doing some shady stuff about money management. As you know, you can't blow campaign funds on personal use. And so anyway, I summarized it, and then it wanted to know from me if I thought we should go arrest him or if we should hold off. And I basically said we should hold off until we got more information. There was a bunch of holes in the investigation that I saw right away, and so I put that on hold. And then the afternoon after lunch, it was a job interview. And the FBI has an interesting process. The people that interview you have never seen your resume, and they're going to ask you 16 questions off of this, the list of questions they're going to ask you. And so what's interesting about that interview is when you answer the question, you can't just answer what they're asking you. First part of the interview is you're going to tell them something about yourself, like what is your background. And so, for example, they would say, tell us about a conflict you had at work with one of your employees or coworkers. What was that conflict? Describe it in detail. How did you handle it, and how was it resolved? And so then, you would bring up a story about how you had an issue. Like in my case, I think I had an issue with scheduling at work, and I worked with another officer to resolve that schedule. But before I answer that question, I would say, you're probably not aware, but I worked in law enforcement this many years as this position, that position. And then that way, when we got to the answer, they like, oh, this guy has experience in law enforcement. The FBI does want you to have at least 3 years working experience in the social world. So make sure before you apply there that you have customer service experience. That's a big deal, because they want to make sure that you're not shy in asking questions, that you're willing to walk up to a person and ask them questions, and conduct interviews, etc. You can't be shy and work for the FBI. That's just not something you're going to do. And then so after that process, I got a letter saying that I passed, make me a conditional job offer. I was scheduled for a polygraph exam, and the next stage that I decided not to go forward to was the police academy, or the FBI academy. And so that would have ran, the normal course, and then afterwards I would have been appointed to a location. One great thing about the FBI now is that they are looking to place you near family where you're from. So if you're on the West Coast and you apply for the FBI and you prefer to stay on the West Coast, the FBI will try to do their best. Of course, it's all dependent on vacancies, because it is a military assignment. In the first 2 years, you really don't have any say in where you're going to get placed. But I understand now that they're trying to help out applicants. So if you want a home on the West Coast, or if you're married and live on the West Coast and your family's on the West Coast, they're going to try to keep you on the West Coast. And if you're from the East Coast, the same thing, unless you tell them, hey, I want to travel. And so FBI has offices all over the world. And so I encourage you to check into it. I was so excited and privileged to go through the process. I urge you to ignore what the news is saying. The FBI is the top-notch law enforcement agency in the world. One of them. I mean, there's CIA and NSA and etc. But don't listen to what the news media is saying. Don't listen to what some elected officials are saying. They are top-notch. You're going to be working with a bunch of people who already have a 4-year degree. These people are intellectual. They're polite. They're kind. They're efficient. And what I thought was amazing, the FBI has an unlimited budget of what they can do to produce things that are needed for any criminal case. They can just, you may need to fly across the country. You may need to fly overseas. And that's all covered by the FBI. Plus, when you fly, you get to take your weapon with you on the plane. And if you're married and you get stationed overseas, they actually pay to have your kids attend a school where they will learn foreign languages. And that's all covered by the government. And it's a perk on the FBI. One of the other things that I was told is if you're married and you get deployed overseas, that your spouse, they try to get your spouse a job, possibly working in the embassy, and that's something that you cannot beat this benefit. And so I urge you, if you're thinking about doing this, the first step is to speak with the recruiter. Ask the recruiter, what should I do to prepare myself for this? The FBI Academy is not as physically demanding as the police academy, so I don't want you to worry about that. You still need to learn how to shoot. You still have to do reports, but they will assign you a brand new take-home car. You're wearing a suit for most of your time. Once you get in the FBI, as I mentioned in my previous videos, you can specialize in different areas that you've always been interested in: forensics, bombs, terrorist activities, you name it. There's a whole list of specialization. I wouldn't begin to scratch the surface to tell you that. Now, you have to get hired before the age of 36, and you have to retire by 56 or 57 in order to get those full 20 years in your pension. So if this is something that you're thinking about doing, I want you to follow up on it. I mean, just don't put it on hold. Don't think about, should I do this? If you're thinking about doing it, the first step is to meet with the FBI agent and say, hey, I saw this video. My professor was saying that you guys have a lot of openings. There's a lot of benefits in the FBI. And so I want to find out what to do. And so anyway, I'm going to conclude that. I'm going to shift gears to something else. As I know, you're probably tired of hearing the whole thing, and I do this in class as well. I want you to really work on yourself. I mean, I know there's things going on around the world. Your friend lost his job or her job. They have drama. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But I want you to really get selfish about building your dreams, building your goals. Start to work on your dreams. Stop watching TV. I see amazing students over the past years and even now, super writing skills, super talented. They'd make great teachers. They'd make great law enforcement agents. They'd make great CEOs. They'd make great managers. But what I sometimes worry is the motivation level is not as high as it should be. You guys really need to focus on what it is that you want and go after it. Don't put things on hold because you're afraid to make a decision. Don't waste your time watching videos that are not going to advance your career, your life skills. Earlier in this video, I told you about my story about being broke and spending a whole weekend eating a little box of little donuts and drinking apple juice. And I starved myself that whole weekend, but never in my mind did I think I was going to quit the academy because of that. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I don't have any money to buy food, I'm going to quit. And I see that with some students. I see that, oh my God, not everything's going well, I'm going to drop out, screw this, I'm done. But I'm telling you right now, as your professor, as your mentor, as your life advisor, you gotta want something really, really, really bad, to the point where nothing is going to distract you. Things are going to happen in life. There's going to be people dying. There's going to be traffic accidents. People are going to lose their jobs. There's going to be breakups. There's going to be a ton of things. But you got to work on yourself. You got to get up in the morning and get in front of the mirror and say, what is it that I want to do with my life? What is it that I want to do with my life? I can't control all these other outside influences, but I can control what I do with my life. And I want you to someday have that desired career. I want you to have money in the bank. I want you to have extra money to be able to go on vacations, to be able to buy the extra things that right now you're probably not able to buy. So don't get immersed in the daily news and the media. Don't listen to negative advice from people who have nothing going for themselves. I had friends that I graduated from high school. Some of them have done really well, but a select few have done nothing with their lives, nothing. And if we were to go back to those years, that's what they were doing back then. They were doing nothing with their lives. They were playing video games. They were just hanging out. They were just doing nothing, smoking weed, doing whatever they did back in high school. And so, trust me, life happens. And if you don't make it happen for yourself, one day you look back and you say, oh my gosh, I had the opportunity. I had those opportunities. I never took them. So anyway, that's my closing bit of advice for you. Be careful the videos you're watching. Be careful the activities you're participating in. Start listening to motivational videos. Start building your career. Start thinking that one day it would be great to have a large savings account, so that when you think about taking a vacation, you don't even think twice. You just call and book your flights. Life is meant to be lived. I love to travel. I love to make these videos and share my personal life experiences with you. If you're thinking about the FBI, if you're thinking about any other career, you need to really start working on building that career. Don't let fear, don't let anxiety, don't let stress get in the way. Just make it happen. Okay, and in closing, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Click the notification little bell so that you're notified when a new video comes out. Share this video with others who may be needing this advice. My biggest goal, and I've said it before, is to make you successful. These videos are to make you successful. They're on 24 hours a day. They can be watched over and over and over again. Please take this advice. I really care about you. I want you to be successful. And the only way to be successful is start working on your dreams, on your career and academic goals now. Don't wait till later, because later may never come. Take care of yourself, and goodbye, beautiful people.